Hi guys, welcome back to another Uthio game review. As we all know, the Ottawa Senators fell to the Edmonton Oilers 3-1 yesterday, and I'm going to review this game. And it was a pretty high event game, I thought, for only being a 3-1 score and for being pretty low scoring, especially the first two periods of this game. And this high event game would start off with a fight early on as Austin Watson and Jujhar Khaira would drop the gloves. Khaira and Watson are both big men. I believe they're both 6'4" and 210 pounds plus at least. So both those guys fought. I was a little shocked to see that fight. It almost looked like the old-fashioned staged fight to me, because Watson and Khaira didn't look like they had any animosity towards each other or anything like that. They just, they dropped the gloves. They decided to fight. I mean, Khaira's been a guy who's been struggling to stay in the lineup for Edmonton, so perhaps he wanted to get himself going and, get himself into the coach's good books perhaps. But, he did score a goal, I believe, last game against Calgary, so I think that'll get him into his coach's good books. Khaira's not really a goal scorer. He's more noted for his physical play. And be all for the fighting, as right after that, on the ensuing face-off, Zach Kassian was out there chirping, wanting to go with pretty much the whole Ottawa Senators team, it looked like. Eric Goodbranson would oblige him. They would fight as well. Kassian would leave the game with an injury. He would not return after that fight. And the Oilers are short a forward. But 2 fights, 2 minutes in, and that's something you really don't see too much nowadays in the NHL. And there would be no scoring in that first period, but the Oilers would get a power play as Thomas Chabot would trip up Jesse Puljujarvi. I thought it was a dive by Puljujarvi. I mean, Chabot did get his stick on his legs, but Puljujarvi kind of stumbled. And then he looked like he could have stayed on his feet after he initially stumbled, but then he went down, and the refs fell for the bait. They took the bait, and the Oilers to the power play, so that dangerous Edmonton power play goes to work. And the Oilers only had one shot in that power play. The Sens would kill it off. They did a good job on the penalty kill, by the way, tonight. And with them killing that off, though, the Oilers did look really dangerous still, but I thought the Sens did a good job of keeping them to the outside. And one thing I will mention, their penalty kill looked really aggressive today, or last night, I should say, as every time an Oilers player would get the puck on his stick and have it, have his back kind of turned to the play as he's receiving the pass, a Sens penalty killer would be right on him right away, forcing that Oilers player to make a quick decision. It didn't matter who that Oilers player was, whether it was McDavid or Draisaitl, but they were on them, forcing them to make quick decisions, and even forcing some turnovers too, and then clearing the puck 200 feet. Like I mentioned in my video when the Sens gave up the 4 power play goals in that 8-5 loss to Edmonton, is that it doesn't matter how skilled the other team's power play is, you can always kill some power plays off of theirs, because, look at last night. The Oilers go 0 for 4 against the Sens, a very dangerous Oiler power play. They didn't even have that many shots on their power play either. Now, that's not ideal to give a team that skilled that many power plays. You don't want to do that. But my point is, there is still a chance that you can kill it off. It's not, every time the Oilers get a power play, it's the death sentence, and nor should it be that way either. And the Sens show that they can kill off power plays of teams that have really hot man advantages for sure. And then 5:33 into the second period, the Sens would break through, finally scoring the first goal of the game, as Evgeny Dadonov, a guy who really needs to get going, would get a huge break. Brady Tkachuk does not get an assist on this one, but this was a nice play by him. He turned the puck over. Actually, he intercepted a Connor McDavid pass, then he sprung it up to Dadonov on the breakaway. Adam Larsson would put the puck in his own net as him and Dadonov were kind of jostling for position. Dadonov had a partial breakaway. Larsson flips it over Mike Smith's blocker, and it's into the net. It's 1-0 Sens. They finally get the first goal of the game, and boy, was it ever a fortunate one for them for sure. But then the Sens would get into some penalty trouble. They would kill it off. But after an Oilers power play, the Oilers kept pushing and pressing on the Sens. They had so many chances to clear the zone on this particular shift, but they wouldn't. Brandstrom tried to clear it, but he was kind of on an island all by himself. He had like 2 Oilers forecheckers on him. Dominic Cahoon turns the puck over, or he forces Brandstrom into a turnover, and he sends it over to Draisaitl. Draisaitl with a quick shot, 5-hole on Murray. I mean, I kind of would have liked to see Murray have that, but I don't know. It's Leon Draisaitl, and he was maybe 6-7 feet away from Murray, maybe more than that, but not too much more than that, I wouldn't think. So he scores, and That would get the Oilers all knotted up at 1. He gets his 8th of the season. Cahoon with the only assist on that play. It's 1-1 after 2 periods of play. And the Sens find themselves in the exact same position they were in against the Habs Saturday afternoon. And you're hoping this young Ottawa team would learn from their mistakes against the Habs Saturday afternoon when they gave up a goal a minute 35 in. And while they would not give up a goal that early into the third period, they would eventually give one up as former Senator Tyler Ennis burns his former team. 6:09 into the third period, he gets his first of the season, assisted by William Lagesson and Leon Draisaitl. And the Sens are down 2-1. I don't know how many 2-on-1s the Sens gave up in that third period, especially in the beginning. Like, there was a play where Goodbranson, like, he was just, making an everyday play that you see in the NHL. He's skating the puck out of the zone, no pressure. He falls down. They had like a 2-on-1. Fortunately, the Oilers didn't score on that play, as Mike Riley had a really good slide across play. Riley's been a pretty good player for the Sens these last few games, as he was muchly criticized, and rightfully so early on for his lack of good play in his own end. But he's been a lot better here recently. Just a little side note, I want to add that in, I should say. But Ennis scores. It's 2-1 for the Oilers. The Sens are down 2-1 again, and they just didn't look as good as they did Saturday afternoon against Montreal once they got down 2-1. I thought against Montreal they pressed a lot more. They had a lot more chances. They just spent a lot of time in their own end from the second period onward. This was not a good game for the Senators. They probably didn't deserve to be in this game. They had a good first period, I thought, but then after that, most of the second was all Oilers. And yeah, that penalty, or those penalties didn't help that the Sens took in the second period. That definitely gave the Oilers some momentum. But even before that, Edmonton was really pressing 5-on-5, and the Sens really looked like they were hanging on in that second period. And in the third, the Oilers just kind of almost seemed to keep the puck away from them. It was a very frustrating third period to watch. And there were a couple plays near the end of the game that, you could say, yeah, did the Oilers get away with a couple? Sure they did. I mean, Darnell Nurse hits Tim Stützle, who didn't even have the puck. The puck was nowhere near him. I mean, I don't know how that wasn't interference. And then Chris Russell, when the Sens have the goalie out for the extra attacker, he cross-checks Colin White into the net. The net comes off, and get this, they call the face-off outside, and rightfully so if White, say, was just skating through and he happened to knock the net off. But Chris Russell cross-checks him in. White doesn't even have the puck. How does Chris Russell not get a penalty on that play? I mean, that's crazy, and the Oilers totally get away with one there. And I saw a lot of people after the game blaming the refs. Oh, that's terrible. The Sens didn't lose this game because of the officiating. I'm just going to come out and say that right now. They lost because they were not good enough tonight. They didn't forecheck hard enough. They didn't make it hard enough on the Oilers' defense. They didn't make Mike Smith work hard enough, who was in his first game in a while, by the way, as well. Although Smith did make some good saves for the Oilers, I don't think he was overly tested by the Sens in this one. So the Sens didn't do enough to help their own cause. Would I have liked to seen the Oilers get penalized? Did the refs blow a couple calls in the third? I mean, yeah, they did. But there's no telling that the Sens would have scored on those power plays anyways. So I'm not going to sit here and overly whine about the officiating. Those were missed calls for sure, like I said. But all that aside, the Sens just didn't play a good enough hockey game to win. And then with a minute 10 left, Connor McDavid passes the puck to Josh Archibald. He puts it into the empty net, 3-1 Oilers. That's how the game would end. And the Sens now fall to 2-10-1 on the season. They still only have the 2 wins in the 13 games. They're almost on the doorstep of having a historically bad start for any team in the whole NHL, let alone their own franchise. But for Ottawa, well, they have been showing encouraging signs at 2 games against Montreal. I think last night they did have a bit of a step back, as although Murray played well, he was really good for them. But I just didn't think they were good enough after that first period. I mean, they were really outplayed in that second. They didn't look like they had anything going for them in that third period as far as offense. They had a couple chances early on. Mike Smith made some big saves, but they didn't really have anything after that. I thought the Oilers had the puck a lot more. Edmonton really shut it down in that third period. And that's also part of the Sens just not forechecking hard enough, not making it hard enough for the Oilers' defense, like I mentioned earlier. Shots in the first were 10-8 for Ottawa, 17-9 for Edmonton in the second, and 10-9 for the Oilers in the third. The Sens only total 18 shots in the final 2 periods. Couldn't even get into double digits for shots in a period, the final 2. And that's all she wrote. Sens lose 3-1. Mike Smith plays a good game, not overly tested. Matt Murray was great for Ottawa. And the Sens got to stop giving up so many slot shots. I mean, they showed a graph of that. It was like 12-6 for Edmonton after 2 periods. Anyways, I don't know what it ended up as, but they give a lot of high danger chances, and that's got to stop. And even though Matt Murray is thankfully playing better, you can't expect him to be standing on his head every night, especially against some of these all-star talents that are in the North Division. The Sens really need to clean that up, spend less time in their own end, and stop giving up so many high-quality chances in their own end too as well. But guys, that's it for this one. Let me know what you think in the comment section below about the Sens and what they got to do to get another win here. These games are by no means even close to as bad as what they were, just a week or so ago. But for Ottawa, I think they are coming around despite having a bit of a step back yesterday. But let me know all that and more in the comment section below. Please like and subscribe and share this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll talk to you again soon.